Welcome to the Business Legends Podcast, where we interview business leaders and entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their successes, become inspired, and meet the people that make change happen. I'm the host of the show, Reese Arlen, along with my co-host, who did not mess me up this morning, Christian Webb. Say hello to the good people.
He lied. I messed him up at least twice.
He did. Yes. He did mess me up a little bit. Today we are accompanied by Mr. Peter Hahn, who has some of the best hair I've ever seen in my life. Peter here owns Super G Mart, and for our listeners, Peter, why don't you tell us what that is?
Super G Mart is an international grocery store. The G stands for global. We carry an extensive variety of different groceries, ranging from U.S., Hispanic, European, Middle Eastern, Caribbean, African, Asian, and Indian, and Southeast Asian. So we
everything except American, basically.
No, we do. We have,
okay,
we have a small aisle dedicated to American products.
Okay.
I have a question. What is an American product? Do we even have food?
It's like ketchup, like salad dressing,
mac and cheese.
Yeah, like bread.
Bread.
Yeah, white bread.
Yeah.
White bread. Every time somebody
sense.
gives American food, I'm like, what are you talking about?
I
We
always
just
think-
Americanize everybody else's food.
Yeah, I always think hamburger. That's the very first thing I think about when I think about American food.
Yeah,
So-
and I mean that's actually funny because a lot of the products that are found in the U.S. aisle, as we call it, it also kind of crosses over, like oil and salad dressings and baking flour. Other cultures have all the same thing too. So, we do have some kind of overlap between the products between U.S. and Asian and European and whatnot.
Yeah.
Aren't there a lot of products that are essentially the same product, but they're relabeled, like for different markets and things? So it's like the same internal, but it's like a different packaging and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of those. One of the most popular items in our store is the Thai Lay's or the Chinese Lay's.
Okay.
So, as you know, Lay's is an American company, but, a lot of times in different countries, they localize the flavors. So you'll get kind of thing like Thai boat noodle soup flavored Lay's. You have like grilled prawn flavored Lay's.
Oh, wow.
So, and those are actually a lot of the popular items because
Yeah.
they're approachable, because the consumers, like they recognize the logo, like, oh, that's Lay's, but then it's something unique besides just the original, yellow bag that we're used to here. So,
What's the one? It is a Lay's. I think it's called like Everything or something like this, but it has like all kinds of different seasonings, and we don't usually have it as an American product. I can't remember the name of it, but do you guys know what I'm talking about, or have you?
I don't.
Yeah.
there's I have no idea. There's a picture. There's like a picture of a bunch of different spices, but that one's actually in Thai, so I have no idea how to read that.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
That's really neat. So how did you come up with this idea? What made you decide to get into groceries of all things?
So, I come from a corporate background. I did my undergrad in Tokyo, Japan, got my first job in New York. I worked for a Japanese trading company for about 4 years. Then the pandemic hit. So I guess the short answer is the pandemic. I had been kind of in that position to kind of let my family business be a family business, and I'll kind of do my own thing. But when the rest of the world was shutting down, I saw that the grocery business had a lot of potential. I think, as we mentioned earlier, the essential business was a terminology that not a lot of people were really familiar with pre-pandemic.
I think they just made up that word in the pandemic, by the way.
They might have.
Yeah.
But
now it's official.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we saw a 20 to 30% growth in the grocery sector, and also that plus Charlotte, being a city that's fastest growing in the U.S. now, I believe.
Yes.
And so
Welcome. We Charlotteans welcome you and your
Thank you
amazing
so much.
entrepreneurship.
But you must pay your homage.
Yes. You must bring me some Thai Lay's potato chips.
I got you.
Yep.
All the ties.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up joining the family business. Moved out here in 2020, and then the first thing that I did when I moved out here was I started working on expanding to our third store location, which is the one in Pineville. Yeah.
It's incredible the way that we've seen you grow and expand and network. I want to talk a little bit about just strictly entrepreneurship. I think it's fair to say you didn't wake up one day and you're like, yeah, groceries are awesome. So did you decide to get into the business from an analytical perspective, looking at the money and the finances, or what was the decision making process like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was a lot easier for me than it would be for somebody that's starting out a business completely on their own, because we had the family business that was already existing, and within the Charlotte community and Greensboro, where our first store is. Within the international community, we have a very strong presence because to be frank, there's not a lot of other options out here.
Sure.
So it was easier for me to just go in and take what was already existing, that platform, and just kind of make it better. And that was kind of what I tried to do, was with the growing interest in international cuisine that derived from the pandemic, of people having to cook at home and possibly getting tired of cooking the same thing at home. I wanted to double down on that and create an environment where everybody felt comfortable shopping in, making the aisles wider, making the store cleaner, even the merchandising and making it more approachable, putting aisle markers for different regions of the world. So right now, our aisles are all by continent. So you'll have North America, South America, India, Europe, and so on and so forth. So creating kind of that environment, and then also, secondly, we had to bridge the gap between the understandings, because we have a lot of first-time customers coming into the store, but they're not really sure what to purchase. So that's kind of the idea behind the cooking class, and teaching people how to make these cuisines that they're familiar with eating at restaurants, but they may not really know how to use the ingredients found in our store to cook them at home. So
It's such an incredible that you've taken something that everybody does. Everybody buys groceries, and you've added an experience to it. Whether it's the the cooking class or the food hall or whatever else. And so you've turned this business into like an experience type of thing. Because when I'm sitting here thinking about it, like, I don't like to go get groceries typically. It's like an errand, right? Whereas you're more like a destination, like something to do. Like, I'm sure you have people come in all the time and go on dates and stuff, and check out different cuisines and check out different ingredients.
You already told them me and Kayla are heading down there.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. I think generally the trend is for grocery, it is people do think of it as a chore. That's probably why e-commerce you see is booming. It's the convenience of people being able to do one click and have everything delivered.
I get mine delivered.
Yeah, and I think majority of the population does. But for us, that's why we had to double down on the shopper experience. So going back to what I was talking about, of making each aisle a different region of the world, we want to kind of give the customers a feeling that as they shop through our aisles, they're traveling through different regions of the world. You're in aisle 4, all of a sudden you're in India. Aisle 3, you're now in Eastern Europe. So things like that, the experience of the shopping is not something that e-commerce can really replicate. So that's something that we have to double down on. And in addition to that, obviously the fresh departments of the produce, the meat and seafood. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really feel comfortable having fresh products being delivered to me necessarily.
Sure.
If it's dry, non-perishables, I'd be okay with. So
I don't think I'd want a tuna be delivered to me.
I mean, they have a lot of it frozen, and they do it very well now. But I think e-commerce does tend to be very dry goods focused at the moment. So all of those things, and then and also another way to bring customers in through the door is giving them that cultural experience. So going back to the cooking class, the language class, all of those things, we're trying to bring the communities together as a cultural hub. So in a lot of my previous discussions with different news outlets and media, I've always used that terminology of cultural hub, because we consider ourselves more towards that than just a grocery store.
No, it's an incredible thing. Did you let's backtrack to the pandemic when you decide, okay, it's time, I want to open Super G. By the way, how'd you come up with the name?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't.
It's the third store.
Well, right. Okay. Gotcha.
So our first store, Super G's been around for a long time.
Okay.
Our first store opened in Greensboro, I want to say 15 years ago.
Okay.
And then our second store in Independence is probably 12, 13 years old now.
Okay.
And my family bought into the business. So this Pineville store was that much more meaningful for us, because it was our first project as a family to take on opening a new store.
Yeah.
Anybody ever call you Super G?
They do. A lot of times, especially when we go out, people introduce me. Hey, this is Super G
What's
right
up,
here.
Super G?
That's such a good name. We need to rename our company. Something we need a nickname.
Super G.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a cool. I love it.
Can we distill it? Super G marketing.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because Asians and the ethnic community, they refer to it as G Mart.
Oh, interesting.
But like the different demographics, like Americans refer to it as Super G. So we actually were thinking about possibly shortening the name when we did our rebranding and the new logo for the Pineville store, but we couldn't choose between the two, so we just had to go with Super G Mart.
Yeah.
And just keep it all.
We just had to keep it all.
We, we Americans are big and loud, and we like things to be super, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just
Super
G.
fast.
Yeah,
Super G.
That's awesome. So when you guys, when you decided to open this third store, did you guys have, did you have discussions, and did you kind of come up with the idea that you wanted to be like a cultural center as opposed to everything? Was that out of the gate, or did that kind of happen as a consequence?
Yeah,
with
I
COVID
would
and
say
such?
that a lot of that influence came from my dad.
Okay.
He's very community oriented. He has, his background is investment banking and merger and acquisition, so he's definitely got that business acumen. But when he hit 50 years old, he's a very philosophical man. So as soon as he turned 50, he said, "The second half of my life has begun." And so
Wow.
he sold off his companies. He went back to school and studied gerontology, which is the study of aging.
Wow.
And so he's been very ahead of the trend. So and he took that knowledge back to Korea and started MPO for senior related businesses. He created senior centers in different provinces of Seoul. So it's a 5-story building with a cafe, a classroom setting and stuff where 50 plus the elderly population can come and gather. They can, commingle. They can learn a new skill or just hang out and spend time. So
Wow.
he has always had that community aspect and that philosophy, and I definitely want to give credit to that, and that the community center.
Yeah. So instead of being like, I'm 50, it's almost time to retire, he was like, you know what? Let's go make something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
He's still like, even to this day, he'll wake up at 7 a.m. and you'll just see him in the office just reading books all day long. So definitely more academic than I am, but a lot of that influence when it comes to the community and the cultural hub, it does come from him. So
Sure, that's incredible. What was it like with I mean, you're around your family obviously, but what was the venture like as far as getting this third store up and running with your family? Going back, would you have taken like outside investment so you didn't have to do it that way, or are you so glad it did work out that way? Mixture of both.
For me, it's less about the investment, but more about family business is tough because it's family.
Sure.
I feel like sometimes it'd be easier if you were working with people that you didn't know and you can say what's on your mind. But with family, you have to be a little bit more careful. And with family, sometimes you're a little bit more emotional too as well, right? So it goes both ways. For me, I had a lot to prove. I'm the youngest in my family. My older brother, Paul, he's 8 years older than me. So I'm kind of the baby of the family, even more so. And so me coming into the business late, where my mom and my brother have been operating for the past 10 years, I got a lot of baby treatment.
Sure.
So a lot of the vision that I had of let's make the aisles wider, let's make it nicer and cleaner. They were like, well, we don't really need to. And so it was a lot of things that I had to prove, and it's tough convincing family when they're seeing you as the baby. But to that point, in hindsight, yeah, I was very upset about it. It was frustrating for me at times, but I'm glad that I went through that process. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to show them, and I'm glad that we've been successful enough. Like I said, this whole design of the third store was geared towards the general American population and not necessarily the ethnic population that shops at Super G already. And for us, as soon as day one, when we opened the door, to have stacks of these new customer registrations for the loyalty programs every single day, and with the diverse demographic that we have now as our shoppers, it's been something that's been meaningful.
3 years later, and now you're being called Super G.
Super G.
Treated with the baby gloves, and now you're Super G.
Exactly.
Super G.
Baby G to Super G.
Baby.
Is your dad Granddad G, or?
No. My dad is
Granddaddy G.
surprisingly not really involved in the business. He's So a little bit of my family history is my family moved to North Carolina from Seoul, South Korea when I was in 3rd grade. And at the time, it was just my mom, my brother, and I. So my dad stayed in Korea to work and send money so that we could have a life in the States. And that's very common for Korean and other Asian cultures as well. I think we call it the 기러기 가족, which is in Korean and it translates into goose family. Sounds very weird, but I guess the idea is just as geese travel south and back and forth, that was kind of what my dad did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Wow, that's incredible.
Until you had
that's-
good balance.
Yeah. And so he's always had his own business in Korea, and the Super G here was really my mom and my brother. And actually, the way we started out as Super G was my mom actually worked for the first Super G in Greensboro.
Oh, wow.
So she handled the finances, and so she was kind of the CFO role of that store. And obviously, when my brother went to college, and then when I went to college, my dad said, "Okay, well, what do you want to do? Like the kids are off now. Do you want to come back? Do you want to stay there?" And she had been working at the first Super G in Greensboro. And she said, "Hey, this grocery business, like, there's something there. Like, I see the potential." And so that's actually how we ended up buying into the business. And 10 years later, here we are opening our third store.
Wow, that's it's funny how things work out that way.
Are the original owners still part of all three?
No, the original owner is a part of the first store, which is up in Greensboro, but the Charlotte and Pineville, he's no longer part of. Yeah, so
Gotcha.
we've bought that out.
That's awesome.
Made it your own family thing.
Yeah,
The Super G's.
yeah.
Love it. Was there? This is just strictly out of curiosity. Was there anything that really surprised you about the third store? When you opened it, anything from, I don't know, popular items to demographics to something was worked out better or worse than you expected it to?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a vision. I always had a vision. I recognized the trend in the growing demand for international foods. So that was the whole purpose of making the aisles wider and cleaner and rebranding the logo. I knew that it would eventually get to that point. What I was surprised about was that it happened so quickly. So from the first day of opening, the fact that we had so many different faces coming in through the door, just the fact that we have stacks of new customer registration means that it's largely not from the ethnic population here in Charlotte. Because not to sound like too much like we're boasting, but we have been in Charlotte for a long enough time that a lot of the Asian communities already shop with us at Super G. So whenever there's new customers, that means it's outside of that original demographic that we have been catering to for the past 10 years. So it kind of gave me a lot of confidence and a lot of reassurance that we are headed in the right direction. And I feel like continuing on with some of those more cultural classes and bridging the gap, I think we have a lot more potential to keep growing from there.
So something I think you can talk on that a lot of our guests actually haven't talked about, and I love it. It's the networking piece. You told me earlier in the cafe that you basically, as soon you came in, you provided employment for a whole bunch of people, and you decided to take that relationship you built. You want to talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had experience in my previous, position at the corporate job, working with different economic development foundations. So, when I came here and we're, working on this 108,000 square foot, and with the 12 different restaurants and the grocery store, which on our own we employ about 80 to 90 employees for each grocery store. Those job creations and those factors give you a good advantage and a good way in with some of the members of the city or the county. So I had a good relationship with the Mecklenburg County Economic Development Foundation. And so the food hall, when I was trying to source 12 different local businesses and restaurants, me being new to the city, I just didn't have the network. So I reached out to the city and I asked them to kind of give me some introductions to people or local business owners. And that's actually how I connected with VJ, who was also a guest on your show.
A certified business license.
Super Connect.
Yep. And actually, he helped me through that relationship. He helped me kind of widen my network and presence here as well. And so the first time that we met, this was back when the Pineville store was still a construction site. But I walked him through, shared with him my vision for the space, and coincidentally enough, he had always had a vision to create an international shopping center and to kind of bring all the different communities together. So we clicked kind of right off the bat on that. And
you say the relationships like Mecklenburg County would have a relationship with you just because you had all those employees. That's not true. I think you have a really good entrepreneur mind because you went that next step. Like you called and said, "Hey, I'm producing 108, so many jobs.
Right.
I'd love to have some connections. Hook me up."
Absolutely.
And they did that. A lot of people don't know or won't take that step.
Right.
And that helped you a ton.
Right.
I mean, you met some real movers out of that conversation.
Absolutely. There's a lot of resources out there, even with the permitting, and we had a lot of challenges, especially for us, because from the eyes of Mecklenburg County, right? We're a grocery store that also has retail spaces, and that also has 12 different restaurants coming in. So in the beginning, it was hard for them to understand, like, what are you guys, are you guys trying to be a Carolina Place Ball? Like, no, we wouldn't. Why would we try to be a Carolina Place Ball, right across the street? So,
And malls are dying anyway.
yeah. So, it's so there was a lot of challenges in kind of the permitting process as well. And, but, knowing and reaching out to, some of the members of the council or the city for help and not doing anything to kind of go around somebody, but really just sharing with them and getting them to understand your vision and then helping them understand that you're not doing anything, too complicated. It's just because it's something new for the city of Charlotte doesn't mean that it's hasn't been done before in other bigger cities like Atlanta. So
basically every city that we're on trajectory to be even close to in size already has one.
Right, exactly. So just helping them understand that and then getting that vision across and then getting them on board with your vision, and it goes a long way in them helping you. And so utilizing those resources.
I'm excited to see more about the community hub. That's going to be cool.
Yeah. So we've actually had 4 cooking classes already, kind of highlighting different cuisines. So the first week we had the Lao Thai food truck on Lao. The second week, so our Super G Mart in Pineville, we have our own Korean kitchen inside the grocery store. That's actually my brother's mother-in-law. She came from Korea, and so she makes all the side dishes, the marinated meats in-house.
Oh.
So she held a class in how to make Korean kimbap and tteokbokki, which is the spicy rice cake. And then the third week, we had Vietnamese cuisine. So they taught our customers how to make vermicelli and spring rolls. And then Katsu Cart, which is a food truck. Perry, he came and taught people how to make Japanese cold noodles. So by the 4th class, we had a line all the way out to the cash registers 30 minutes before the class started.
Wow.
And that was actually our last class because I said, okay, now with all of this attention and this demand, we need to actually start doing it right. So we put a temporary pause on that until we can kind of get a good plan and make it more organized.
It's tested and true now.
Right.
Time to do it big.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. I love things that are experience based. I read an article somewhat recently that was saying that people that are our age will choose to pay for experiences, things like vacations and classes and learning and things like that, long before they pay for material possessions nowadays on average. So there's definitely a shift.
Not my business partner.
Well, sometimes I can be a little old school, I suppose. So here's kind of an off-the-wall question. Gosh, it would make for a good last question of the show. I'm gonna have to come up with another though. Do you find any of the products that you carry internationally? Do you think you have something that's just super weird, like a crazy product you can't believe sells the volume it does, or something that, like, I don't know, you might find it disgusting or something and it sells a bunch or anything like that?
What's the rating for this podcast? Am I allowed to say?
You can say whatever you want. This is
want.
Business Legends. Yep.
I mean, I'd say the craziest thing that I've seen on our shelves or in our bunker freezer, I guess more specifically, are bull testicles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You ever popped one open and taken a
No,
bite?
I haven't popped any bull testicles.
What are those
open,
called?
no.
Those are called
bull fries.
yeah, but
There's a guy named Liver King. It's an Instagram influencer.
I've seen that.
He
I've
eats
seen
them.
that.
He eats them like 8 at a time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And besides, he's
I think
obviously on
they're called,
testosterone.
I think they're called like Rocky Mountain oysters or something like that. Like
That sounds right, but
yeah, I don't know, but
you got a new shopper.
dude, just eat them, man. Like that's wow. So what would it take for you to try a bull testicle?
Not much, man. Not
Really?
much. I mean, it is my job. I gotta know the products so I can sell them, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys come down next time, we'll pop one open.
Oh man. So did they? So do
We
do
will
they
come
sell
down. I do
a
want to
lot,
explore.
Yeah.
Do they sell a lot like those, or?
To be honest with you, I haven't really dove into the sales data of
Nice.
those yet, but no, I mean, I suspect they're doing well if we're carrying them.
Yeah.
And we carry them pretty consistently.
Wow.
Yeah.
When I come down next, I'll text you so
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
can check the whole store, get the
Absolutely.
full tour. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's the there's some Asian, it's a fruit and it stinks.
Durian.
Durian. Do you
Yeah.
guys have durian fruit?
We do have durian, but we have to only carry them frozen because
I believe
if we
that.
kept the fresh ones, we'd be out of business.
Yeah.
we'd be
It smells
out of
that bad.
business. It
Yeah.
smells pretty bad.
It's awful.
It smells. I mean, I don't know. Like, do you think
Awful.
like stinky feet smell bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, then yeah, it smells bad.
Yeah.
Why does a fruit smell like stinky feet?
That's
It's-
not a question for me.
it's
for a
it's
higher up.
A little higher up.
Yeah.
Like, is it
God,
is it a sweet fruit?
It's a sweet fruit. It's
Yeah.
very sweet. It's just if you can get over the smell, it's great. I mean, you can go to local boba shops, bubble tea places, and they'll have the durian flavor, but those are kind of powder based. But we do carry the frozen durian in little packs.
Yeah.
I gotta look this up.
Yeah.
We
I
also
might even have
have
to buy one.
these massive fruits, probably like, I don't know, 40, 50 pounds, called jackfruit. That's like a super big, vegan alternative fruit that people are getting into. So, yeah, the texture of the fruit is kind of like shredded pork or barbacoa. So
Wow.
they use the jackfruit as like a meat replacement for a lot of the vegan dishes out there as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, star
I can't wait to
fruit,
see some of this stuff.
dragon fruits, all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff.
I should have asked this earlier, but do you get any business from actual businesses? Any restaurants buy from your?
absolutely. A lot of restaurants. I'd say in Greensboro, because they don't have a lot of the distributors at Charlotte, a lot of the restaurants flock to the Super G there. But even in Charlotte, our independent store and the Pineville one, we have case pricing for a lot of the Asian restaurants.
I was curious about that. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Caribbean, our produce especially, because I feel like our produce department is something that attracts a lot of people as first-time customers, more so than the grocery, is our fresh produce. So we have people coming in buying cases of bok choy,
I don't even know what bok choy looks like.
Yeah, I can't explain it.
It's like a.
He's gonna have me looking up.
I know
like,
it. I
you know,
I can't
international
explain it either.
fruits and
It looks
vegetables.
like a Pokemon, like a bok choy. Looks like a white, like a green. Like
with
a
the green hair.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like-
yeah,
I see that. I see that.
Yeah. That was. I mean,
Like a-
that comment actually made sense.
Yeah.
It sounded really stupid,
No,
but
we're gonna have to put that on this podcast. They do just a little animated bok choy.
Little bok choy.
Yeah, just remove my face and put a little animated.
Or you
bok
can put them
choy.
side by side.
Yeah, exactly.
Bok choy.
Yeah.
Bok choy looks like a
Super
Pokemon.
G and bok choy. Yeah. It's like Batman and Robin, right? For me.
There you go. Oh my God, that's something else.
Yeah.
Well, we need to do something with a durian fruit. I've always wanted to try one, but it's just such an intriguing thing to me.
So next time we go, when we
Texas.
come down, we'll come down together and
Yeah.
we'll text you beforehand, like
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
days before. We'll come down. We want the durian and the bull testicle
Yeah.
side by
bull
side.
testicles?
Yeah.
We're doing bull.
No,
you
he
won't
does
do it.
bull testicles.
Yeah, you'll do the bull
we
testicles.
do.
We'll do the durian.
we
fruit.
do the
Yeah.
durian fruits.
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, it comes in packs of 3, so we all gotta take one.
What's up with them bulls? Why are they coming in packs of 3?
What happened to the fourth? That is a great question.
Yeah, no, that's why we got them on sale. It's a 2+1 type of deal.
Okay.
I've always wondered that about Liver King because he has to like take down 4 bulls to have 8 testicles.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's a lot of bulls for 8 testicles.
Oh, he eats the testicles too?
Yeah.
Oh, not just the liver. I've seen him eat the liver.
I've
Yeah.
I've seen him eat a whole bowl of testicles.
Wow. Okay.
I'm gonna go on record and say I don't think I want to do that.
And he keeps acting like that's what makes his testosterone so
Yeah.
high. He's solid red.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we all know what makes his testosterone.
Yeah, he's the color
high.
of that Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Right there.
There's
like,
a lot
you
of stabs in his thigh.
know. Yeah.
That's all
for
I'm
sure,
gonna say.
For sure. Well, we're wrapping up here, man. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Do you have, before we sign off, and I am going to stall and try to find another fun question for the end of the show, but if you, we like to talk to young and upcoming entrepreneurs and things like that. So if you could give your younger self some entrepreneurial advice, or if you were going to mentor somebody, what type of advice would you give them about being an entrepreneur in groceries or otherwise?
Yeah. I would say that my advice would be more geared towards on a personal level than a business or entrepreneur level. This was a first endeavor for me. It's building out a 108,000 square foot grocery store / food hall in the middle of a pandemic with equipment shortage and delayed lead times, working with a general contractor that's out of state and having to go through legal lawsuits and stuff. It can be a lot. So there were definitely moments, even during my endeavor, that I was very overwhelmed and very stressed out. I told you guys before I had a big bald spot in the back of my head that was stress induced, but
Now you're all hair, by the way. That thing's
all
gone.
hair, all hair. At least in the front. We don't know. You haven't seen the back yet. But no, part of how I was able to get through it was, I would stand out in the empty parking lot and I would just envision the space being full of cars. And that kind of helped me keep going and pushing through and thinking about the community. So, if you have that one thing that you can look forward to and that helps you kind of keep pushing through, I would say if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here sitting with you guys being called Super G or Baby Bok Choy.
Yeah, Baby Bok Choy.
But yeah,
love
so
that.
having that kind of one thing, the purpose of it will kind of get you through. And then also, the thing about stress and, experiences, once time passes, it's really nothing. You know, we think it was such a big deal. We think it was so, the world was gonna end, so stressful and so overwhelming. But looking back at it now, like I kind of forgot about how I felt. So it's
You
something.
push through it.
Exactly, it's something. Our body and our mind is something that continues to adapt based on our experiences. So have faith in that, and just trust the process and just keep powering through.
There's something
Well
interesting I've
said.
been thinking about for a long time is you're primarily built most of the time for instant gratification, like something great right now. Like we're about to go to a great lunch. We're about to go to something great after that. I'm about to go
Right.
talk to some prospect after that because it's a great thing to do for my business. But our memories aren't even programmed that way.
Right.
So why do we act like that?
Right.
Because like 6 months from now, I won't remember the meeting I have after this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we did it because it was an instant gratification of something we want to have.
Absolutely.
But the future for us wants the long-term gratification because we want to be comfortable next time we remember something, next
Right.
time we do something.
Right.
It's a very interesting way we're built.
100%. Yeah. I would say that's my one thing. I'm still young, 29. I haven't had as extensive experience as some of your other guests would have had. But
You had a great story, man. Don't make
Yeah.
it small.
Appreciate
You're
it,
Super
but-
G. You're the only Super G
Yeah.
we've ever had. So you know.
There's my brother. I have my brother too. So there's
you
two
don't-
of us.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of businesses, but the fact that you started your first business and it happens to be a 108,000 square foot building, it took 3 years to build.
Not everybody could do that.
You got your
Yeah.
tattoo, buddy.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate
You got the
that.
entrepreneur stamp. It's on there.
Yep. And on that happy note, congratulations. You are a certified business legend
Thank you
at
very
long
much.
last.
I appreciate
You
it.
can tell VJ you're better than him now.
Yeah, you can do it.
'Cause
You can tell me you're the fresher certified business
Got it,
legend.
got it.
Yes.
Man, after you talk about bull testicles, there's really just not a question I can come up with that.
I think we're good. We had a great podcast.
Yeah.
Let's go get some grub.
Let's go get some grub.
Yeah.
Super G, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you guys.
Yep.